Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. Can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
And good morning, Kentucky. This is Kentucky's Voice, your conservative Christian program on 970 WGTK AM radio and simulcast on WBNA TV 21. I'm Bob Scott, and joined today with my co-host, Tom Fallbush, a.k.a. the Tom and Bob Show, as we like to call it affectionately around here. Welcome, Tom.
That's the only uncopyrighted version we can use, so people...
That's right.
Because there is a Bob and Tom show out there.
There really is a Bob and Tom show that is syndicated.
That's right.
But anyway, if you'd like to join in the program today, you can call or text us at 502-571-0970. Again, that number is 502-571-0970. We'd love to hear from you. Before we dive into today's show, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the heartbreaking tragedy that we've been talking about since Tuesday involving the UPS cargo crash that happened, as I mentioned earlier this week. Our hearts and prayers go out to the families, the co-workers, and first responders impacted by this tremendous loss. It's in moments like these that we truly see what makes Kentucky so special. People coming together right now from all over the area, the state, the nation, that's showing compassion and strength in the face of this tragedy. The UPS pilots of Flight 2976 bound for Honolulu, Hawaii, their names were just released. They are Captain Richard Wartenberg of Independence, Kentucky, First Officer Lee Truitt of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and International Relief Officer Captain Dana Diamond of Caldwell, Texas. Of course, continued prayers for their family especially. Our good friend Karen McAdams Waller, whose husband is a UPS pilot, posted on Facebook this morning, and I had to share this about her husband, Paul. Captain Paul, and this is what she said, Captain Paul flew to Honolulu last night. He flew that flight last night. And upon arrival, he and the crew were given these flowers. And if you, Mr. Producer, you put that that photo up, thank you. And a card by the locals, which were absolutely incredibly thoughtful and sweet on their part. And I choked up as I read her message.
Yeah.
Joining us this morning is Kentucky Senator Shelley Funky Frohmeyer, who, among other things, serves as co-chair of the Make America Healthy Again Kentucky Task Force. I'm excited about this force. I think everybody knows I am a huge Maha guy in my best Donald Trump impression. Senator, welcome to Kentucky's Voice.
Thank you, Bob. So glad to be with you.
Senator, we only have a couple minutes to go in this segment, but you've seen how Kentuckians respond when tragedy strikes. What stands out to you about the way our communities are coming together at difficult times like this?
Well, absolutely. We know that we are made of very tough stuff in Kentucky, and this terrible tragedy reinforces just the love and that we're a family-oriented Christian community, and you see Christ's hands, you see Christ's feet, and this community outpouring that is candidly coast to coast and east to west, north to south of Kentucky. So yeah, it's been heart-wrenching and devastating, but we know that we believe and we must believe.
Amen. And at the end of the day, it is our faith in Christ that makes it a difference. Over the next 4 segments, Senator Funky Fromeyer is going to be joining us. We're going to explore how Kentucky is helping lead this new national model for health, the MAHA movement, as it's being called, working alongside federal partners, our farmers, our schools, and our educators. Please stay with us. You're listening to Kentucky's Voice on 970 WGTK and WBNA TV 21. This is going to be an absolutely phenomenal program. Invite your friends and family to tune in. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break.
Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Hey everyone, I'm here today to tell you how we can make America healthy again. And the first thing you need to do is get one of these hats, and we need everybody walking around and wearing it everywhere they go. But that's not going to be nearly enough. That's why I'm partnering with President Donald Trump to transform our nation's food, fitness, air, water, soil, and medicine. Our big priority will be to clean up the public health agencies like CDC, NIH, FDA, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Those agencies have become sock puppets for the industries that they're supposed to regulate. President Trump and I are going to replace the corrupt industry-captured officials with honest public servants. We're going to steer resources to meet our nation's biggest health challenge, chronic disease. We're going to identify its root cause, and we're going to eliminate those exposures. We're going to get toxic additives and pesticide residues out of our food. We're going to support the tens of millions of Americans who choose alternative and complementary medicine. We're going to become, once again, the healthiest nation on earth. That's what we mean by MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. If you want to support this vision, you can buy MAHA merch or donate to our website at mahanow.org.
Make America Healthy Again.
And welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. We are joined today by Senator Shelley Funky Fromeyer, co-chair of the Make America Healthy Again Kentucky Task Force. Senator, let's start with how Kentucky is working hand in hand with federal leadership right now. I know you've been to Washington several times to have discussions with Senator Kennedy's leadership team there, as well as you've actually had the opportunity to meet him, and I believe you had said in January. But share with our listeners and viewers a little bit about that.
Thank you, Bob. We've been so excited. The legislative session in Kentucky started January of this year. And on January 20th, when going to D.C. for President Trump's inauguration, one of the experiences that is so special is the different balls that you might be able to attend. And we attended the MAHA ball. I have never seen so many beautiful, crunchy people all in one room. And it did inspire me when I got back to Kentucky to fairly quickly file a resolution around the efforts of making Kentucky healthy again.
Yes.
I have said since I was newly elected in November of 22 and took office in January of 23 that we need a wellness revolution in Kentucky.
Amen.
But to my fellow members of the state Senate and the House, what part of your legislation is making Kentucky well? We need a wellness revolution. And so I absolutely made it a priority when my husband and I were driving to DC for the inauguration that we're going to, one way or another, make it to the ball. And you would be so pleased that our Senator Rand Paul and our Congressman Thomas Massey kicked off the ball and welcomed Kennedy into the role. I felt so proud to have two Kentuckians
Yes.
leading that charge. And of course, we all know that those same two Kentuckians worked with diligence to get Kennedy cleared through all the hurdles to become our IHH secretary. And unfortunately, I'll have to correct you just a little bit. I have not made it back to DC since then.
Okay.
Our legislative session was so intense, and we wrapped up in March. And then I continue on that wellness revolution. I was in Aspen, Colorado in April talking about ibogaine. Speaking of sort of root cause wellness, that's literally a root out of Africa. We can talk about that more. But that holistic health approach and taking another approach to wellness around our number of veterans and first responders that are dealing with PTSD, our number of drug addicted friends and neighbors that are really not in the workforce, or if they are, they're not working optimally. There's just so much importance around this wellness movement to help Kentucky be great again, to help Kentucky achieve this wellness. So yes, we were able to form this task force, and this task force has been very impactful in signaling to Kentucky some of the changes that are afoot and changes that may require some legislative input.
Senator, this is Tom, and what's always intrigued me about MAHA is, when you think of wellness and you think of, living healthy and all these, just the whole nutrition culture and all that in America. Traditionally, it's been something that's been more focused on really sort of folks that are associated with the left. For example, you go to Whole Foods, you go to Trader Joe's. It's the hipsters. It's all the blue hair girls, buying all the vitamins and all this. Just great people. I'm glad they're into health. But on the right, for conservatism, it's never been a priority. And so to me, it's so refreshing to see what's happening right now, because really wellness shouldn't be a partisan thing. It should and it should be something that everyone can buy into. But really, Kentucky is being a red state, and it's good to see this. We really need it. Kentucky just has always had poor numbers when it comes to health. You look at smoking addiction, or just cholesterol or cancer, whatever. We're always in the top 10. And so it's
Tom, you are right, and I have to be candid. I didn't even know that this was a partisan thing.
Yeah.
So my 85-year-old mother is a nurse, and I'm the sixth of 12 kids. You might be surprised. So I grew up in DeMossville, right along the Licking River, and we grew our own food. But Mom would say, "Hey, have you had your alfalfa pill?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What?" So my mother, and again, I didn't know whether Mom and Dad were Republican or Democrat.
That's right.
Wellness and health wasn't a partisan issue in the Funky family.
Yeah.
We grew, Mom and Dad still had beef cattle. And what I discovered when I went into the role as a legislator is there are subtle nuances that influence 5, 10, 20 years from now in our legislation that maybe we don't put the dollars into the infrastructure of our sidewalks and of our roads so that they are easy to be active and walking and just promoting that importance of activity. And then more importantly, you could grow fruits and vegetables in your own landscaping. You actually don't need a farm
That's right.
to grow a third or a half of the vegetables that you could consume.
That's great. Yeah.
And let's be honest, there's a lot of squirrels and rabbit and deer and all kinds of very available proteins all throughout our state In fact, we have an overpopulation
That's
of
right.
four-legged protein.
That's
I
right.
see them when I'm driving up and down the
That's
highway.
right. Yeah, exactly right.
You know,
Yeah.
so I get what you're saying, but I didn't think that wellness is a partisan issue.
Right.
I didn't think that this healthy eating was partisan. I thought that's for all.
Exactly.
How did we become so partisan around these
Yeah,
sorts
and,
of
and that's the thing too, that we are thinking as a culture overall, but really in our state needs to start changing. You know, we know our nation is dead last among industrialized nations in the world with regard to health outcomes. You know, and that's something that we've been seeing the statistics on here, especially since the Trump administration has come in and RFK Jr. has taken up his leadership role within the HHS department, and it's exciting to see. I'm just feeling reinvigorated with regard to getting the mindset, which what Tom was saying and you were saying. We need to get away from this idea of it's a Republican Democrat thing. This is an American thing.
That's right.
You know, that we need to dive into. We have just a couple more minutes to go in this segment, I
Hey,
guess.
Bob, can I make a point real quick?
Yeah, please do,
You know, I
Tom.
think part of the issue too is, you know, we've had a pretty free market system. We've had strong Republican leadership and for over the past several decades. And you know, I can say this as a Republican, as a you know, capitalist, as a free market guy. Sometimes the free market, if you let corporations run unchecked, and you don't have a strong, fair playing field, it can evolve into some sort of crony capitalism where it can come in and start corrupting the institutions that are there to regulate and those corporations. And that's why you need a strong referee in the free market, and so I think that's what MAHA represents in so many ways. Kennedy is saying, hey, we've let the foxes run the hen house, you know, and it's time to, you know, actually have some referees here. So, but anyway.
I feel like you're spot on, Tom, and I really appreciated Kennedy's words at the start of your segment, Bob, that we've got to clean up these public health agencies. They were perceived by me and many other mothers and leaders to be the voice and the trusted resource, but they're not.
Yeah. Well said.
Well said. As obviously phenomenal words, Senator and Tom. We're going to be right next. We are going to be coming back with Senator Funky Frohmeyer. You're listening to Kentucky's Voice. We'll see you on the end of this break.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth.
That one gives me chills,
Kentucky's
too.
Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
All right, we're good. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have 2 minutes.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Another thing that Trump can do, we need to blow up the food pyramid. The food pyramid is pure propaganda. So we were raised believing that you should have foundational bread, wheat, rice, potatoes. Ain't wrong. So out of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, what if I told you you only need proteins and fats to survive? If you have no carbohydrates the rest of your life, you're perfectly fine. If you have no proteins, you die. If you have no fats, you die. What we've been told, though, is that heavy carbohydrate diet, which then makes you incredibly insulin resistant, it increases and spikes the type 2 diabetics, and we're wondering why our kids are so obese or overweight, because we have literally nuclear bombed their metabolic system from a young age, where we are sending them these sugar high type concentrated foods and they're not able to process or digest them correctly. So we need to blow up the food pyramid. You can have maybe 10% of your diet should be carbohydrates, 30% of your diet should be proteins, and then 60% of your diet should be healthy fats.
And welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. That, of course, was the late, great Charlie Kirk. There wasn't much that man couldn't do and discuss. And he was talking about the food pyramid that so many of us have been used to living with for the last 40 or 50 years. And now we're seeing what we have been sold has been a bill of goods that, let's just say, was probably being heavily influenced by big food in that process. And again, these are things that we as a nation and now as a state are taking a very close look at. My special guest today is Senator Shelley Funky Frohmeyer. She's co-chair of the Make America Healthy Again Kentucky Task Force. And we're very blessed to have her on. Again, if you have a question for Senator Funky Frohmeyer, you can text us at 502-571-0970. Again, that text line number is 502-571-0970. Senator Funky Frohmeyer, one of the most exciting developments, we are seeing right now is that the fact, and this is a fact, food is medicine. You are what you eat. And I know that you've been involved with Kentucky Agriculture Commissioner Jonathan Schell, and both of you all have been helping to lead the charge on this. And this is something, candidly, I'm hoping builds up a lot of momentum, and especially as you go into the general session in January of this coming year. How are you and Commissioner Schell working together to connect Kentucky agriculture with health and nutrition programs?
Bob, I just have to acknowledge that segment you shared with Charlie Kirk rattles my heart to the core. And I am so grateful for the work that Charlie has done that will be propagated, because you can't unfilm those words. They're easy to share and they will continue to be shared. The turning the food pyramid upside down is incredibly relevant. And so is the point that the food pyramid is being revisited and will have new guidelines by the end of this year. Those new guidelines will be absolutely imperative, because what's happening is the federal programs that are driving what sort of food is offered for free and reduced lunch programs in our schools. Those federal guidelines are directly correlated with that food pyramid. And the work that Commissioner Schell is doing with the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, but also with the Kentucky Hospital Association, as well as the Department of Education in Kentucky. So his work has been so beneficial. And what he's looking at is a rural farm revival, and invest
Wonderful.
in farm, not pharma. Let me say that
Yes.
again. Invest in farm, not pharma.
Good.
So
Like that.
if you get to know anything about Commissioner Schell, you'll know that he is amazing with his words that stick. So when we continue to recognize that part of our rural renaissance is that very small farms can work into some of these agreements that Commissioner Schell and his team has worked with diligence over the last 12 months to allow for more local purchasing for the school systems, local purchasing for the hospital systems, and then actually Appalachian Regional Health has had a pilot that through their own dollars, candidly, they've turned upside down their cafeteria so that their employees and also the families that come to visit the acutely sick person that's perhaps in the hospital has better food options.
Amen to that.
Isn't that incredible?
Yes.
But then, of course, they took it to the next most important step. While you're in the hospital, now you're getting more medically appropriate food, and you're
to help
sent
you
home
heal.
with another novel concept. And then you've got a medically appropriate prescription for that food that you're being sent home with. So one of the reasons on Wednesday in the Make America Healthy Task Force, we had the 5 MCOs plus Anthem to present to us, really to signal this is crucial, this is beneficial, we're seeing results, people are getting better health outcomes, and they're reducing their reliance on the pharmaceutical. They're starting to see, of course, what is the side effect of too much vegetables and too much great quality protein? Energy. So your energy's improving, but what's the side effect of that pharma or that pharmaceutical? Well, it could be a number of muscle aches.
Yeah, just watch any commercial and you'll hear about the side effects.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
how
right,
about
right.
that? Isn't that scary? Like, I hope no one has any skin disorders because all of the skin pharmaceuticals, and by the way, guess what? Your skin is a direct reflection of how healthy your gut. Your gut is fed by that fabulous fruits and vegetables. And most importantly, as Charlie said, it is the quality of fat. It is the quality of protein. If all you had was great quality fats and proteins, you'd be well fed and you'd be on track. But we overfill ourselves to about 90% of the carbohydrates and maybe fill in with a little bit of fat and protein, which fat doesn't even make the food pyramid. It doesn't even make the school
Which is
nutritional
amazing.
allowance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been demonized. Tom, do you have a question?
No, I'm just listening. I just totally agree with this. And for example, you can go to different cultures around the world, like the Eskimos. The Eskimos, they can't grow anything, right? It's all snow and ice. So all they eat is meat and fat. The blubber and whale blubber and seal food. And they're healthier than it. They have no cancer, no high blood pressure. So you can live on those type of diets, and your body can flourish on that. Actually, you can create your own vitamins and minerals. Believe it or not,
That's
a lot of people think you have to go on a lot of
That's right.
vegetarian diets to
Right.
get all these
That
nutrients.
salmon. Yeah. When they talk about the Mediterranean diet, sometimes the Mediterranean diet is so full of some of the fishes that
Yes.
could be a little fattier, but it's full of the delicious olive oil
Yes.
or olives, and but those olives and avocados are very fat, quote unquote
That's
fat. But it results in brain health because your brain is actually a fathead. So
That's
if
it.
you're not having much fat, then your brain becomes very hungry and foggy and less quick on the uptake, and recognizing that we are missing fat in our diet.
Absolutely.
I'm a big butter fan. I love to cook just about everything in butter.
Yes.
I am with you on that.
Yeah.
And in fact, about every meal I have, I've got natural grass-fed butter as a part of that option. And I'm not saying I'm in great shape, but I'm not obese, certainly by any stretch of the imagination. So that has been a lie that's been sold to us for far too long. And we have about a minute to go in this segment.
Bob,
do you
can I
see-
mention our stand appeal? We have we're trying to do some fundraising for the Lord's Kitchen, which deals with
Yeah,
feeding
good.
people, feeding the homeless and those that are struggling. And right now there are a lot of people struggling because of the government shutdown. The SNAP benefits have been pulled back, and there are some people that are worthy of this that are generally having issues. So the Lord's Kitchen and nonprofits like this are here to help people make it through this time. So you can call this number 502-213-9543 to give. Really, it should be our friends and neighbors helping the needy in our community. It shouldn't be the government. It should be you and I doing it. And so this is maybe a, I don't know, it's a sign of where we could go. But we'll be right back on Kentucky's Voice. We'll be back with Senator Shelley Funky Fromeyer and Bob Scott on Kentucky's Voice.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
There's nothing conservative, there's nothing liberal about poisoning children.
Taking a live look now at the Texas state capitol, where today Republican lawmakers introduced a package of legislation they say will make Texans healthier.
There's no reason that 15% of SNAP should be going to soda companies.
Americans eat 152 pounds of sugar and 133 pounds of flour per person per year.
So these chemicals are there so that kids can consume more, because they understand that if you get a kid addicted to your food, you have a customer for life.
But when our kids eat school lunch, they're consuming substances that other developed nations have deemed either unhealthy or dangerous for their own citizens.
The food and the pharmaceutical industries profit from this crisis. This is a national emergency.
The devastating impact of these chemicals in ultra-processed food is undeniable. They increase the risk of ADHD, obesity, cancer, and immune system disorders.
And yet, despite the billions we pour into healthcare in the state of Texas and the nation, we are getting sicker. The question is why?
And you're listening to Kentucky's Voice. I'm Bob Scott with my co-host, Tom Fawbush. And we're very blessed to have Senator Shelley Funky Frohmeyer on the program today. She is leading the effort in our state to make Kentucky healthy again, I should say. And as Tom had mentioned in the opening segment of our program, we are sadly noted for, in our state, traditionally being near the bottom as far as health outcomes are concerned. And Shelley Funky Frohmeyer and her cohorts are trying to do something about that to change it, basically shaping lifelong habits through nutrition is a starting point. And Senator Funky Frohmeyer, what progress has been made so far in improving school nutrition across Kentucky?
Well, the effort around school nutrition has been hamstrung quite significantly by the federal guidelines. In our MAHA task force, I believe it would have been in September, we had the one of the new certified nutritionists show us the 15 inches of compliance that must be followed in the school food program. And it's almost better to offer ultra-processed foods, because then you can find the macronutrient in order to meet your requirement. And then what's worse is there's been such an effort in the last 15 years around green energy that some of our schools that have been remodeled and built in the last 15 years don't even have ovens or stoves. Oh, wow. So even if you wanted to offer more whole foods that are coming from our farms, we're going to have to do some modifications in the cafeteria kitchens. So we recognize that. Again, Commissioner Shell, what a hardworking team. And he's got about 200 that's part of the Department of Agriculture in Kentucky. So they're going to continue to lean in and help lean on us as a legislature to create some diligence around policies. We'll have to make a few changes, including, and this goes to our schools, some of the procurement agreements don't give enough latitude on purchasing. Most of the whole foods purchased in today don't even come from Kentucky. Less than 2% even come from providers in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's kind of stunning. And that could be the case even in some of our food box type of distributions throughout the state of Kentucky. These aren't necessarily Kentucky fruits and vegetables that are in these boxes. So our Department of our Commissioner of Agriculture and our department is really leaning into coordinating efforts with our education department so that we can work with diligence around, have we created some policies that need to be adjusted? So we handcuff, untie some of these bounds that are binding them up too tightly. And then, of course, we started to mention earlier, the adjustments in the food pyramid will be absolutely necessary because that's part of what drives the procurement language as well. of the food macros and micros that must be served in the various school lunches. Another point that I want to jump into just for a quick moment.
Yeah, please do.
It was brought up in our last committee meeting that some school systems seem to expect if you don't consume a certain pre-wrapped item that you must throw it away. Other school systems in Kentucky create a place that if you didn't eat it and it's wrapped and maybe it's a banana or it's an apple, place it on this table and any student can grab, they're still hungry, they can grab that and go. So there seems to be some confusion from school district to school district. And by the way, we have 170 in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So let's provide more consistency so that we're not wasting these whole delicious foods that could be tossed in your backpack and take that home as well.
Yeah, and that should never happen, ever happen. But it is a problem, even in restaurants. What can parents do, and not just parents, but local communities? Again, getting in the whole idea that we're together on this to reinforce, those healthy habits beyond the classroom.
Yes. So let's stick with the classroom for a moment to say, parents, reach out to your school board. Let your school board know how important it is to you to have a great quality lunch offering and a great quality breakfast offering. So talk with your school boards, talk with your teachers, talk with your school superintendents. Really be so clear as parents of students in elementary, middle, and high school how important this is to you. There are some very innovative programs throughout the state, but not consistently, where we've got more programs around the consumer health science. So young people starting to be creating food plans and helping in the cafeteria preparation, some culinary programming. So let's keep working on the programming within our curriculum as well. So that's where parents can really say, hey, I would love this to be part of the curriculum and hands-on learning for my student as well. So really be a voice. We do have that opportunity as parents, and we've got more of a voice than perhaps we've been invited to share. Use your voice. It matters.
Yes. Amen. Tom?
Yeah, I was going to say this, if you're a traditional conservative and you've thought about these sort of issues before, in the past, it may be, you had some reservation about, well, here the government is coming in, trying to regulate things, trying to change things. And, traditionally, if you're kind of a Reagan conservative, the line was, I'm the government and I'm here to help. And that means you're supposed to run away from the government. Well, I think there's a point in history where things can adjust. And I think it's very clear that we need to adjust the food pyramid. You need to correct FDA. You need to correct DHS, all these issues that are just built up over time that are really emblematic of sort of the deep state problem that a lot of conservatives have critiqued. And so what I'm so thankful for is we have a Republican administration tackling this, because I feel like I can trust that they're going to go in and still uphold the free market and try to emphasize, just capitalism and just not have this overregulation, but still address the core issues. Just like Nixon going to China, right? Only a hardened anti-communist could go negotiate with the communists. Only can a Republican administration come in and fix DHS and FDA, and so it's really refreshing. It's really an exciting moment, and also, Shelley, what can local communities do to help do more? Outside of just the schools, what can folks do? Maybe you're in their faith groups and that sort of thing.
That's right, Tom. I think what you're sharing is so beneficial when a government, we're here to help, but how about our faith-based communities are so rich and vibrant? My Senate district is Campbell, Pendleton, Bracken, and I have some of the most beautiful community churches that have community gardens. And but not everyone. Why not? Many also have food pantries. So as we continue to lean into what are we offering even in our food pantries, but the faith-based communities have a bigger place than perhaps they've been welcomed to be. They have vans, church vans even. They have spaghetti dinners and they have all kinds of gatherings. How about let's gather more of our hungry into our churches? What a great opportunity. And as hard as this SNAP program currently is I know it's hard for many of our Kentuckians, and I'm very saddened by that. But what I've seen is our churches are rising up. And this is an opportunity for our families to also lean in and recognize how much we do have control. And we also have communities that are driven by, I'm Catholic, but I am surrounded by some beautiful Baptist and Lutheran, and but we are a strong Christian state in Kentucky. And this is a great opportunity to lean into those community members, invite them into your church, invite them into the community garden, invite them into your food pantry, invite them into your services all day, every day, 7 days a week if you can.
Absolutely. It's a great way to build community, doing a community garden. I'm actually started a community garden at my church. It's called the Evangel First Fruit Community Garden. We built a 1-acre community garden where we have about 50 members that have their own plots. And Mr. Producer, just for fun, I'm going to pull up some pictures just so Senator Shelley can see this. If you want to pull up.
I love this, Tom.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
There we go. This is we give away the food every Sunday at church, and so this is one of the food tables, and so
look at those greens. Wow.
Yeah, it's just
an acre is it so incredibly abundant amount of space.
Yes, it is. It's just wonderful, and we've enjoyed it, and it's really community building, right? It's something that people in the church and have really bonded with one another. They build friendships. Hey, how did you pull the weeds out of your garden? What's your and so it's just something we need more in our day-to-day life because we're so atomized now as a culture. We need community, and so this is a great way for churches to help address this issue and build community at the same time. So,
Tom, I want that to go viral. I hope you'll do maybe a video and let us all just keep sharing it.
That's a great idea.
I'd love to see even my own church, now that you've put it out there, and I'm Maha driven, I better step it up.
I'll send a video to you very soon. So we'll be right back with Dr. or Senator Shelley. Made you a doctor. I'll give you Senator Shelley here in a minute.
You can call me a doctor.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
The MAHA movement, they largely get the problem right. That's why it's so effective. They really have tapped into something in a very bipartisan way across the board that we all feel, because, maybe we can talk a little bit about how this left to right change in wellness has happened. But many of us in public health have been talking about these same problems that MAHA is talking about, right? We do have a lifestyle-related chronic disease issue. That's why I got into this field and started studying chronic disease prevention, a decade and a half ago. We do have a food environment that is nearly, by best estimate, 70% ultra-processed food. And there's a reason for that. And we do have, systems that are not built for us to be healthier. They're really built for corporate profit and for the profitability of them. And so those truths are there, and they really latched onto those. The issue is that they got the causes of those issues largely wrong. And when you get the causes wrong, you're going to get the solutions wrong, and you're going to miss the mark on the solutions. And your solutions either will be kind of benign and not make any impact, or they'll be harmful in some cases.
And that, of course, was Dr. Jessica Koenig talking about really the importance of MAHA and the impact. And, she made a point of saying something that we were talking about earlier in the program, where you really have seen a shift, and Tom was talking about it being more of a left-centered discussion, where it's now moved to the right-hand side of the aisle. But where we're at right now, our thought process is, let's just get it back to center. So
make it mainstream.
And it does need to be mainstream. That's absolutely critically important. This is one of those topics, folks, that we can all join hands together, forget the politics of it, and come together for not just ourselves, but more importantly for our children and the future of our children. And again, if you just tuned in, this is Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Bob Scott, along with my other co-host, Tom Fawbush. And we are continuing our final discussion with Senator Shelley Funky Frohmeyer from Northern Kentucky. And, it's exciting to see, for me personally, I almost died not so long ago because I was in a situation with ulcerative colitis, had been bleeding for like 9 straight months. I will tell you, Big Pharma was failing me. The drugs I was taking, in fact, candidly, it was making my condition worse. And it was finally, by the grace of God, discovering a natural, more holistic way of healing. And guess what? When I started implementing that and stayed diligent to that, along with a lot of prayer, I got better. To where I can sit here today and say, I'm healthy, and we had talked about earlier, if you have your health, it's not the amount of money that you have, it's your health, at the end of the day, that's going to be the most important thing. And,
that's right.
and that is something.
Health is wealth. Yeah.
Yeah. And health really is wealth, Tom, and no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And, I guess I started to call you Dr. Funky Frohmeyer, but anyway,
I've been accused of that before.
Boy, by the time you leave the show today, you're going to be known as Dr. Frohmeyer,
Surgeon General.
But how is realistically Kentucky's universities, professional schools integrating wellness, nutrition, lifestyle, health into their programming? We know that universities as a whole, and I've talked to a lot of doctors, they have failed. They get an F as far as really teaching the doctors and having them understand the importance of health and nutrition. Where are we at that as far as our universities in this state?
Yes, you're spot on. The doctors will give themselves an F as well. And Dr. Attia has really become a voice for pressing the medical profession to lean into their understanding of sleep, movement, and nutrition.
Yes.
And so we've had some very meaningful impact in our conversations during our MAHA task forces. And Dr. Capilouto from UK, President Capilouto, invited our task force. So we visited UK and spent some time, and we even invited the academic professional that puts together their nutrition coursework for their medical school and their medical program, but it's still an optional course. It's not required curriculum. So we're continuing to lean in. In our last task force meeting just 2 days ago, had the Kentucky Medical Association, and we had Dr. Jones present, and Dr. Jones kind of acknowledged that this is not something required. They're going to continue to lean in as Kentucky Medical Association to the importance of nutrition education for all the professionals, not just your medical doctor, but your physician assistant, your nurse practitioners, your nurses, so that we're driving this through the curriculum. One of our very first task force meetings, we invited Dr. Huber, going to your, thank God, Bob, that you're on track. We invited Dr. Huber, who spent 20 years as an ER doc and has now spent 15 as a functional medicine doctor. And he's kind of saved my husband's life from a very similar sort of gut health issue, gut health crisis. And we've been working with Dr. Huber. But your point earlier about the cost of that, when an insurance company isn't acknowledging that is important relative to prevention or even maintenance. So you can spend $200 on some of these tests, but your insurance company may not cover it.
Yep.
But they will cover $1,200 for a certain amount of monthly prescription that my husband was prescribed for his...
That's treating symptoms and not getting at the root cause of the problem.
Right. Yeah. So we will continue to lean in as a Kentucky legislature on the ongoing curriculum. We know that that is a federal standard in order for doctors to receive their licensure, and so we will continue to lean in, and we've made that clear with IHH Secretary Kennedy that that is very important to Kentucky. And Kentucky, we're going to lead the way in some of the outcomes of our task force, and especially the work that we're doing with the Department of Agriculture, because it is going all the way back to, okay, in childhood, if your very first doctor's appointments aren't emphasizing enough about the nutrition to your baby, to your pregnant mom, let's go all the way back to your pregnancy. You know, candidly, some of my very first legislation in 2023 was around perinatal and prenatal mental health. And what we're discovering is that mental health is missing when your nutrition is way out of whack.
That's right.
Of course, it's missing when your sleep is out of whack, and so is your exercise. The most important for all of us is great sleep. That's twice as important as nutrition and exercise.
100%.
But exercise is a daily commitment, and it's a good 20 to 30 minutes per day, per week that is missed. It's not talked about enough. But then, of course, nutrition, it's not that complicated. Let's go all the way back to what we started with. It's not that complicated. It's really protein and vegetables. You can fill in with some fruits. You need some fats. And it's that simple. Then, of course, you're going to throw in a treat here and there. But at the end of the day, all you really need is water, protein, and fruits.
Getting back to the basics, I would be remiss if I didn't talk just very briefly about what's happened in New York City, because it affects us all across the nation as far as the election of a socialist mayor there. I have a video I want to play for you and get your response to it.
Zohran Mamdani just won the New York City mayoral race decisively. And if the right doesn't understand why, they're not just going to lose elections, they're going to pave the way for the very socialism that we should all be trying to prevent. And before anyone just dismisses this as liberal panic, I want to show you something, because Charlie Kirk actually saw this coming.
The rise of Mamdani should be it's a coming attraction of what is coming next, but most people are missing the point of really what this is. This is yet another distress signal by young people to say, hey, if you're not going to fix our life economically, we're going to get very radical politically. Now, let's take a step back. President Trump, one of the reasons he was able to win younger voters and younger men, especially in big numbers, is that they were trying to get their leaders' attention. They said, hey, this guy, Donald Trump, he is pledging to go fix our economic anxiety. He is loud. He is going to get your attention. Donald Trump was a distress signal by a lot of young people, especially young men, that were stuck in a credit-centric renter economy. And again, this is what is the rise of Mom Donnie. It's just another iteration of this, only.
And again, that young man actually in the video, for those that could see it or couldn't see it, he was wearing a white tank top. He's a graduate of Harvard. He's a conservative graduate of Harvard. I think it was in 2012, and does a pretty popular podcast. But he made some very good points that we're starting to talk about it more on this show with regard to young people, Generation Z, really the next generation coming up. And not only are they going to be important as far as the MAHA movement's concerned, but as far as just basic living is concerned and being able to make ends meet.
Bob, can I tie in what to Charlie Kirk's point there? Obviously the economic situation young people are facing is challenging and it's kind of radicalizing them. But also there's a lot of nutrition and mental health issues that young people are facing.
That's right.
We've raised a whole generation that is very fragile because we haven't let them go out and play. And Jonathan Haidt's work on that, the anti-fragile kid.
Good
also,
point.
just if they're unhealthy nutritionally, they can't process the world in the right way, and so they freak out and they panic. And any savior that comes along that gives them some idea of safety and security, like a communist and a socialist wants to do, I can create this utopia for you. Just let me take over. That's going to be very attractive, and so there's a lot of issues economically, health, mental health. Anyway, it all ties into MAHA, and so yeah. So
about 40 seconds ago, Shelley, what's your thoughts?
I'm going to go back to Jonathan Schell's invest in farm, not pharma.
Yeah.
And that economic anxiety is a real thing. I am a mom of 5 children between the age of 33 and 28, and then my youngest is 15. So total of 6 children, but those older 5 experience that economic anxiety that Charlie Kirk is describing, and it is important for all of us to take note. And we do need a free market, not overly manipulated and controlled as we've experienced.
Senator Frohmeyer, Funky Frohmeyer, it's been our pleasure to have you on. I'm Bob Scott. You've been listening to Kentucky's Voice.